Bases dropped for a new round of SDH AM. John, hear you there. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. I think that it was a restream issue and not a John issue having to do with the Twitch pitch. But we'll find out. Oh, crap. I forgot to do that. It is another round of SDH AM. John, hear you there. Another week of letting you know what's going on in and around the sport of soccer. Reaction Monday up and under and underway. It'll be Abe Gordon joining us in just a bit. Bart Keeler is going to be joining us at 10:30 to look at cards and calls. And there were a couple of moments from the weekend that folks have to focus on, a couple of injuries from the USMNT, NWSL activity. And we'll get into all of that coming up with Bart at 10:30. We've got highlights. We've got post-game. We've got the twos, because if you missed it, there was a piece of history that happened in Huntsville this past weekend, and it was against a rival in Huntsville City Football Club. So we'll go back over that and let you know what happened with the twos. Very, very busy time with them on the road, taking care of Huntsville City Football Club. So we've got that to get into, and we've also got some coaching news to get into as well. There's a firing in Columbus, just in time for Atlanta United to head to Columbus and face an old friend who kind of thrives in the chaos. So we'll talk about that. Obviously, we'll talk about it later in the week, see if we can catch up with our friend Chris Doran, the play-by-play voice of Columbus Crew, to get into the Rudstrom era, what it was, all 14 matches of it, and 136 days, and the now Laurent Courtois interim administration that is happening. Then we'll get into what's happening overseas this morning and this weekend. This weekend, Xabi Alonso looks like he has signed a 4-year deal with Chelsea. This morning, it was divulged by folks with their sources. Yes, folks and their sources, Morning Local, Morning Alex, where it appears Jose Mourinho is heading to, same as it ever was. He's get back to where you once belonged, Loretta. He's heading back to Real Madrid. Looks like it's a 2-year deal, and they're also set to allegedly, possibly, probably announce it when it comes to the end of the regular season. So Jose Mourinho gets back to where he once belonged. Henrik Rudstrom is no longer employed by the Crew. Xabi Alonso coming into Chelsea. Callum McFarlane got a text apparently mentioning the staff that is staying and some of the staff that's going. I feel like Donald Davenport in The Secret of My Success. Some of you are going to have to go, but then the rest of you have been really helpful. Y'all can stay. One of those moments. Although I do not anticipate Brantley Foster coming in and being right there for a takeover of Boley Clear Lake. So we'll look at that coming up here, plus all of the news that's happening this morning, everything that happened on the weekend, and we'll break it all down for you. So that's the rundown this morning, and then God knows what else is going to happen today. And we'll be ready for it here on a Reaction Monday. So here's the week for you. In addition to our regular guests, you're going to see high school coaches drifting in and out as we have a salute to the season. We're going to try and catch up with as many of the championship coaches as we possibly can, weave them here into the rundown this week. It's going to start tomorrow, so we'll find out who can join us in 15-minute intervals, and we'll intersperse them with all of our regular guests getting through everything in Major League Soccer. And it appears the Friday program, since it is the last day before the last match day before the World Cup break, looks like it might be a show of chaos with a lot of our friends from Apple TV. So the last match day heading into the World Cup break, we'll just line it up and we'll see who joins us and we'll see what happens from there. So apparently Friday is going to be a show of chaos. It was called by our friend Kirk Reynolds over at MLS Soccer, and he's like, I'm thinking if we do a show of chaos since it's the last one before we get into World Cup break, and I'm like, I'm not going to complain. So we'll take the tour from all of our friends at Apple TV, and they'll want to drop in, which means it's probably going to be some combination of Higginbotham, Jess, Devin Kerr. Oh, let's see. Since Kendra and Kanji joined us last week, I'm trying to think of who else joined. Tony Husband, Ross Smith, Francisco X Rivera, Ramsey Sandoval, all just the names that are coming through my head. Friday might be an adventure. We'll see what happens. Shoot, Egan might join us. Who knows? So Friday is going to be apparently an MLS show of chaos, and we'll get you ready for the weekend in Major League Soccer in addition to Atlanta United. Okay, so happy anniversary, Alex. 60 months hanging out with us. Thank you very much for all of that, and thank you for your support. I feel like Bartles and James. Thank you for your support. Then you do that. But that's where we are this morning, and it's going to be a standard Monday adventure that we've got here with SDH AM. So here's how it is listed. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Let me put that there. Black Pitch Coffee, starting your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend, made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy body, notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate, a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, brought to you by our friends and powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Bruno Andrade and Alex Kirkland at the 4-letter. Jose Mourinho's agreed to a 2-year deal to return to Real Madrid. Sources have told ESPN Brazil, with the coach already saying he buys at current club Benfica. Reported Mourinho had emerged as the front runner to take over at the Bernabeu in recent weeks. Sources said the new deal at Madrid has been verbally agreed upon but not yet signed. Benfica are set to receive €7 million, $8 million in compensation, as he had a contract at the Portuguese club until 2027. Mourinho, previously in charge 2010 to 2013, going head-to-head with Pep's Barca, winning 1 league title, 1 Copa del Rey, 1 Supercopa de España. He's going to replace his former player, Alvaro Arbeloa, took over in January after the firing of Xabi Alonso. Arbeloa's future is not yet clear, sources said. Some of the club believing the former reserve team coach should remain at Madrid in some capacity. 11 points behind Barca in the Liga, 1 round of matches to go. Eliminated Champions League quarters by Bayern Munich, having overcome Benfica in the knockout phase. Florentino Perez called presidential elections at the club last week. Candidates having until May 23rd to present their candidacies, and there is therefore some uncertainty around when Mourinho would be officially announced as coach. But it looks like Jose Mourinho heading back to Real Madrid. And there you go. All right. That's opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com, which means we bring in Abe Gordon, as Chipper is probably staring at him, wondering, why are you doing this and why have we not gone outside? Am I wrong?
Well, we have gone out, but she's wondering why we're not still out. And so, she's making her way around and giving me the huffs and puffs.
Well, you, sir, had important family commitments this past weekend. And so it was the caddies at Bushwood for the pre and post at 92.9 The Game in Colony Square in the beautiful Imitation Palatial Studios. And it was, I don't know how much studying you've had the chance to do, but it was the standard amount of chaos with Atlanta and the purple team. It was back and forth. Atlanta United dominated most sides of the ball except for the one category that mattered. Jay Fortune comes up big again, and you end up with a draw, the match number 1 in a 4-day span. What'd you think?
Yeah, I'm always going to place more importance on what happens tomorrow night than what happens Saturday night. But look, you go down early, and once again, you have to find a way to fight back into it. And once again, it's Jay Fortune that kind of comes to the rescue a little bit. Really nice goal, too. And he's kind of showing you he can score in a couple of different ways. Obviously, the inward cutting running 2 weeks ago, and then or a week ago, and then this one obviously just plummeted from outside. So really nice goal. But it's frustrating. And again, I didn't get a chance to really watch all of this match, but you're still seeing a team that's performing better than the result. And you're seeing a team that has had the better runs of stretches of play. but it just doesn't match up into the result. And it comes down to the goal scoring at the end of the day. You've got to find ways to score goals. And it's, I don't know how many times it has happened like this, John.
Mhm.
I'm sure over the past couple of seasons when I've been joining you, I've talked about the XG and the actual goals. You've got to get them to get a little bit closer to lining up. You were way out in front with XG, and then obviously just 1-1 on the scoreboard. So you got to find ways to score goals when you're in dangerous spots, dangerous opportunities, and unfortunately, only able to do that one time on Saturday.
Right. So then I will posit to you as we will hear the question asked by Jason after the match to Tata Martino, to Jay Fortune, and to Matt Edwards. If you believe in what Dick Vitale always calls Uncle Mo, momentum, heading into that match that you have taken priority of before the Major League Soccer match. You want Open Cup priority first, and then Atlanta United match against the purple team in Major League Soccer second. But if you take that match and head into the match that you have as your priority, I would say, and this was reinforced in those interviews we're going to hear coming up, that Atlanta United feels confident with momentum considering the result that happened. You exposed Orlando for who they are again this season for the 5th time in 6 matches. And I think that you're on that front foot heading into that match that you have the most importance on.
Yeah, look, all of that's fine and dandy, but at the end of the day, it's always going to come down to the execution. And so, yeah, I think you do feel pretty good about where you've been at and where you're at right now. But you still have to go out and weird things happen, even though it's a round ball on a flat pitch, right? And so you're still going to have to deal with the bounces of whatever the match brings you. And you'd like to avoid going down early. Obviously, I'd love to see them get a couple first half and then cruise out from there. But yeah, you do feel good, but weird things happen. Balls take ricochets, and who knows? I mean, I would say before Orlando scored there midway through the first half, you felt pretty good about how you were starting this matchup, and then obviously they get a goal, and then they take control for the next 5-10 minutes before you kind of gather control back. So it's going to be about handling those moments, but ultimately, again, you've got to find ways to score when you have that. It's going to be interesting to see what sort of flips both teams do from the roster, but also from a formation. It looked like Atlanta was in a slightly different modified formation there across the back. And so is that something that you do only against Orlando? Is it something you did to throw them off for Tuesday? And who do you get back into the starting lineup that maybe didn't start in this match on Saturday night? So a lot of things to consider there.
Right. And to your point, that was one of the things that I think that anybody is going to look at first and foremost is that you're going to look at the minutes that were accrued by a lot of folks in the matchup on the weekend, because you sat, and obviously one concern is the injury concern on Fafa Pico, where he only was in for 19 minutes, and then he is clattered into the net by Griffin Dorsey, and Fafa comes out with the worst of it. Togashi gives you 12. You got to keep an eye on Fafa Pico, who's been a great veteran change of pace. He gave you 19, but you got the injury update to wait on that one. Stian Gregerson came in as a second-half substitute, gave you 20. Matt Edwards came in, gave you 20. Latte Lot came in, gave you 20. Togashi gave you 12. Jaden Hibbert has been your Open Cup keeper. Amador Hernandez, Steven Alzate did not play. So that's just the bench going forward. And then obviously I think you're going to have Alexi. I think you're going to have, Tristan and the back line there, probably looking at that. So there are some folks that you look at the minutes that they gave you on the back end, and you're probably sitting there thinking, okay, those might be the guys that are going to be starting in this Open Cup match because their legs are fresh.
Yeah, and maybe you can fill me in because I know Cooper didn't play. I see he wasn't even available off the bench.
Right.
Is there anything behind that? Do we know more?
It was an illness, and he was left behind, and they were hoping, and Chris Henderson mentioned pregame that they were going to monitor him, and if he was well enough, then he was going to come down. So, yeah, it was just an illness, and they were keeping him out just to keep him safe, to get him on the fast track to recovery.
Yeah, so potentially he's an option to jump back in there if he's, drank up some IV stuff and good. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting. And again, it's not just you, right? They could change some things out as well. Do they stick with their 4-4-2? Do they stick with the general majority of the players that went in? When I looked at the lineup, when I looked at the formation from Saturday night, I can see like pretty plainly that you were making a couple of decisions probably with Tuesday in mind. And so is that the case? Who then slides back in? And then obviously, how is Orlando going to respond to it? Because it's always an interesting setup when you play a team back to back in this situation where, all right, what did they learn? What did you learn? And who can take advantage of that in just a couple of days, make some ever tactical changes, if it's formational changes, whatever it is. Who has the better aspect of that? And you'd like to feel good with Tata that he can take advantage of whatever he saw the past couple of, over the last 72 hours.
Yeah. And with Tata Martino, he wasn't looking at Tuesday first. He was looking at result on Saturday, and then Sunday morning, then we'll get to Tuesday and we'll figure out what we're staring at here. Once again, you're looking at a matchup where Galarza started on the left wing. He played further up than he traditionally does. You had Saba on the right because I know that you and I have had this discussion about Saba where he wants to set up that right foot. But if you start him on the right-hand side, then you know that there's going to be those moments to switch and you try to create some defensive conversations and confusion about all this. So it was interesting to see Galarza play up a little higher because of Cooper Sanchez not being available. Will Riley got the start, gave you 60. And, Tristan and Jay playing further up, Will playing a little further back. And so that was an interesting tweak out of necessity. And so we'll see, does that continue to translate going forward, not just here in Open Cup, but for the remainder of the season? Will there be times where Matias Galarza plays further up as a part of the midfield attack? I thought that was really interesting as a bit of a wrinkle out of necessity that we saw on Saturday, too.
Yeah, and then look, at some point, Miggy is going to work his way back into fitness and rejoin and re-enter the discussion. But so far, he is not there. And so you're making do with what you can. And I think they've done a pretty good job. Again, you had that great game from Saba and Latte, Cooper as well, a couple weeks ago. And then, Jay Fortune comes in and now, it looked like he was kind of spurring it. Then he was off the bench for a while. Now kind of looks like he's helping carry the load a little bit more. So I don't know. I've always trusted Jay. It just feels like he's such an integral piece of what you want to do offensively, what you want to do defensively. And like we've said about a number of different guys, I mean, the fact that he's scoring goals on top of that and really good goals as well, even more so. So it's going to be really interesting to see kind of how they continue to build the attack. I think you're right about Saba. I think he's just traditionally been better on the right side. And I know we've moved Miggy over there, and then that kind of forced Saba into a little bit of a hole there. But
then you also got bumper cars with Alexi when you had Miggy on the right-hand side and Alexi on the right-hand side as well. And so you're trying to figure out how not to have those collisions like you do at Six Flags in the bumper car ride.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. Stian came in late. Is he going to be part of your center back pairing, or are you going to run three center backs again? Did it catch you off guard? Just judging off of what MLS is saying, did they kind of modify the formation for what I believe is the first time this season, or no?
No, it was a 4-2-3-1 still.
Okay.
And so, but it was just that you had Will playing further back, and it was honestly, in times in the attack, it was like a 4-1-2-3, or Will would drift back and be that third center back, and he would drift in from the 6, and he would come in to be that third center back while everybody's pushing forward. So it was still a 4-2-3-1, but in attack, obviously the midfield and the wings would be a little different. I could understand where they would sit there and say, yeah, it's a different formation, but it was pretty much the same thing, just in attack and withdrawal, attack and defense, it would look a little different. So
yeah,
that's kind of what you're staring at.
Yeah, it's just going to be about the adjustments that each team is making, and like you said, with momentum, you would feel pretty good going into this one tomorrow night, just because I think you can make adjustments and be even better than you were and you were still pretty good. You just happened to only score the one goal, and you gave up one to them. It just, again, it's another match that feels like you should be winning the game, and you know it's a point on the road, right? Like going back, we've always said win your home games, point on the road. You can make do with that, but sometimes point on the road feels good. Sometimes point on the road is like, it could have been more there, and this is probably one of those.
Correct. Here's Jay's numbers. 2 big chances created, 5 key passes for Jay in his time on the weekend. 45 of 51 passing, 81% passing in the opponent's half, 4 of 7 on long ball creation as well. And then defensively, you look at his contributions there. Defensive contribution, a clearance, 3 recoveries, 1 a duel as well. So in addition to all of those different things that we saw from Jay offensively, he still would be a part of things defensively. 4 separate categories registered defensively as well on Saturday night.
Yeah, and I think that's what you see from him and Cooper as well. And you mentioned Will. I think when you get your midfielders to, I mean, that's the whole goal, right? Is to get them connected to the attack, but connected to the defense. That's in general how you're going to prevent bad goals from being scored too, is by keeping those guys involved on both sides of it. So yeah, I look, Jay has been outstanding. Nothing's new there. It just had that awful setback with the injury that cost him a number of months at the end of last year and then into the start of this season, or else I think we wouldn't have to guess whether or not he's starting or coming off the bench. I think he would be a mainstay starter if he had been healthy this whole time. So look, again, we talked about the guys that have been here for a while and have kind of developed, and it's just not a surprise anymore. And it's not a surprise when Jay got back from his injuries and when he was working his way back. I'm like, man, I think people forgot how integral this guy was before his injury. I mean, I know the team wasn't playing very well at that time, but it felt like week by week it was him carrying the team for a while. Then he goes down and that put a stop to it for a moment. But yeah, there was a time 2 years ago where you looked at Jay, you're like, this is the dude that's going to be in our midfield for the next however many years, and he's looking like that guy again.
Yes, he certainly is. So the plans tomorrow for Open Cup, sir, are what?
Yeah, we're treating it just like a regular match day. So we're going to have pregame starting at 6:30. I'm going to be leading into pregame with Dukes and Bell until 6:30. So I'm 2 to 6:30, then 6:30 to 7:30, and then we'll have the call and full post game and all that. So look, we're looking forward to it. We've talked about it over the past couple of weeks. It's a huge opportunity. It's a team you can win against. I think we saw that on Saturday night, even though technically that was a draw. But you got to feel good about it, and if you can pull out one more victory here on Tuesday, you one more game closer to a very unexpected trophy if you can keep getting those results.
3 wins away from being in CONCACAF Champions Hemispheric Extravaganza. As always, my friend, it's great to catch up with you, kick off the week. Oh, how was the family interaction, by the way?
It's always good to just get the whole gang together. It's sometimes everyone's at a different stage of their lives, and so sometimes you don't always get the meetups and the greet-ups that you would like, but it's always good to see everyone. So it was very fun.
There you go. As always, family number one, family very, very important. As always, my friend, great to see you. We'll catch up with you soon. We'll be listening and we'll be watching and gauging the reactions of you and Maddie Cruz in the Open Cup quarters come tomorrow night. As always, my friend, great to kick off the week with you.
Yeah, we're ready to advance, so let's go ahead and do it.
What he said. Abe, thank you very much. There goes Abe. Chipper is going to wander, and it's like, okay, time to take me outside. Either take me back outside or give me food or give me both in no uncertain order. So that's how Abe gets to kick off his week with us. Now to the aforementioned Jay Fortune. And here is the part of the conversation that was had with Jay after the match, courtesy of Atlanta United, their own selves, and the post game once again with Jay Fortune. So here you go. After the match and the 1-1 draw, here is Jay, the goal scorer that created the 1 point from the 86th minute.
Have that connection for a while. It's always looks there first, and once the ball got cut back, at first I was going to take a touch, but I saw the defender coming, so I couldn't do that. And from there, it's just relying on technique and all that stuff to put it where it needs to go.
Well, we talked, about a month ago when you were first getting back into the first team, and you said you had just started to feel right and feel like yourself in that week preceding it. How are you feeling right now? Because you're playing some of the best soccer of your career.
Feel good. I can't complain right now just from the fact that, coming back from the injury, after the injury happened, no one knew, where I'd be, how I would respond to it. And luckily, everything is starting to move in the right direction. The As I talk with, my dad and people around me, they still believe that there's more that I need to tap into. So for right now, I'm just gonna continue to flow with things. I don't want to, the person I'm not is to think that I've made it or I've peaked or anything like that. I just want to keep getting better day by day, game by game, and I just want to see what I'm able to do in this game.
The part that you're tapping into right now is something that I remember Alexi talking about recently, getting the eights into the attack, getting the eights into the box. How important is that in what Tata Martino wants for this team to be able to put teams under pressure, is the eights getting into the attack?
Yeah, I think when you kind of look at my time throughout Atlanta, it's always been a little bit further back, and um, we had guys like Thiago and those type of tens who, my role was to find them in those positions. With Alexi playing kind of the front three, it requires a little bit more from us eights to be a little bit higher, and I think a little bit last year kind of started with that a little bit before the injury, but this year is kind of the first year of really getting that freedom to go and try and be in and around the 18. And from there, it's just about putting the ball in the back of the net or creating for others for them to score.
You and Alexi have really started to form a lot of synergy right now. What's it like playing with him, and how have you guys kind of found that?
He's a smart footballer. That's number one. And for me, I was kind of taught to just play the game properly. And when you have that type of quality on the field, it's, your first looks is to look for guys like him, like Manu, like, wingers who look to go in behind. And that's what I want to do, is get those guys on the ball in the right areas, because not only can they create for themselves, but, they can also try and help create for me as well. So, we're always joking, we're always laughing and stuff like that off the field, and then on the field as well. It's, trying to look for each other and trying to create some things going forward.
Last one for me. I said, as we finished up on the radio, that it feels like you guys have the momentum going into Tuesday because you were the better team through 90 tonight, and they looked tired at the end, and you didn't. Does it feel that way going into a knockout game on Tuesday?
Yeah, I think as a team we'll talk more about the game, but we didn't deserve to lose this game tonight. I don't even think we deserve to tie it, to be honest. But that's football, that's how it is. So I think we should have the confidence, we should have the belief that we can go out there and win. But at the same time too, you have to respect Orlando because they have a ton of quality going forward. They're able to just switch at any moment, and them in transition is a very dangerous team. So we'll be confident, but at the same time respectful of the game and be aware of what can happen.
Jay Fortune after the match, and there were a couple of things that stuck with me. When your dad and your family think there's more to tap into, that's the one thing, is that you do not question your dad, you don't question your family. I thought that was kind of cool. It's like my dad and my family think that there's more that I can tap into. And to Abe's point, yes, we'd like to all thank Ervanar for having Saudi Arabia and the Saudi Arabian defender basically take Jay out and create the injury and create the issues that he was having to fight through. And now that he's through the other side, we're seeing what it's like to have a healthy Jay Fortune, and seeing him out there on the pitch for Atlanta United have a moment like this for the second week in a row, courtesy of our friends at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Here was the equalizer from Saturday night, and the call from Mike and Jason on the air. Here you go.
Dropped into Baez. Body down to Galarza on the near touchline. Galarza 18 yards off the end line. Takes it back in the midfield to Barakal. We're in the 86th minute now. Here's Moyamba. Squaring to Gregerson to the right channel. Steen deep in the play to the top of the box. Ahead now to Matt Edwards. Far corner flag. Slaloms back to the right. Cut back pass. Fortune shot. Score! Atlanta United's homegrowns generate an equalizer here in Orlando in the 86th minute.
From Apex, North Carolina to Atlanta, Georgia to join the academy. They came together, roommates, basically brothers at this point, and they combined to give Atlanta an equalizer that they've deserved about 85 minutes.
Now you got to go win it, and there's plenty of time to do that as we're in the 87th minute.
The Apex Predator, Matt Edwards. Here's how the game ended. And to Mike and Jason's point, we'll get into the stats, and then I'll break them. I'll go full game stats, second half stats. Because we'll get into Orlando and what we saw with Orlando once again rearing its head, something that they don't want to have continuing to happen, but it is. We'll get into that. We'll get into the stats coming up in a sec. And to Jay's point and to Jason's point that they made in Jay's postgame opportunity, here's how the match ended once again, courtesy of 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. So here is, once again, the tail end until they blow for full time, plus an explanation and a little bit of the tag of the broadcast. So here's how the match ended, button hooking off of drafting off of what Jay said and what Jason asked after the match. Here's the end of the match and the call after it or during it. Once again, here's Mike and Jason.
What you would like is to hold it for the final minute and not allow Orlando one final crack at this.
Go win the game. Go win the game somehow.
That is absolutely Tata's mentality.
Yes, go win the game. You got a minute. You got 50 seconds, 45.
Free kick sent back to Hoyos, top of the Atlanta 18. He'll hook this down the left wing for Togashi. He somehow traps it off the touchline, and it's bounced ahead off of Latte Lot. Dueling and grabbed by Brecklow. Latte Lot's on it. Left corner of the 18. Takes a touch. Turns the face goal. Now in a 1v2. Drop back pass. Galarza. Center to Fortune. Left of the arc. Back to Latte Lot. Left corner of the 18. Back in the midfield to Fortune. 20 seconds to play. Back further to Barakal. Long diagonal now for Matt Edwards. Connects on the far touchline. Edwards dribbling around Spicer. Leaving it in the midfield now, Moyamba. Final play as Latte Lot tips it to Togashi. Drop back, shot, save Crepeau. Rebound, headed by Moranchuk. And then chested to the goalkeeper by Dorsey. Full time, it ends level at 1. Atlanta United severely outplaying Orlando City in the second half. They will get a point, but it feels like they should have gotten 3. And it was right there on that final attack for them too.
What a save from Crepeau at full extension. You build up the play well. You get the look that you want. Cayman Togashi somehow saved the ball on the near side. I have no idea how he did. It's amazing from him. But you get the look that you want. The layoff from Togashi to Galarza. Full extension save from Crepeau. And you can't find the rebound. Moranchuk tries to put it back in, and that's ball game. This gives you the advantage going into Tuesday, though. You've got the momentum. You outplayed Orlando by a wide margin tonight. You have the momentum going into a knockout game on Tuesday against the same team. Take advantage.
6 times in the last 7 matches for Orlando where they are 3-4. Sorry, Orlando, they're 3-4. It's one extreme or the other. 6th time in 7 matches that they have given up a goal, 75th minute or later. Just to give you an idea, how fragile Orlando is and why any team should be taking advantage of this. Doesn't matter who you are. I know we're talking about Atlanta here in the present tense. But in the match, once again, against Atlanta, you give up a goal in the 86th minute. Jay Fortune scores there. So that's 1 in the 86th. Game against Philly, the 4-3 craziness, you give up goals in the 75th and the 79th. You eventually do win it in the 90th by Martino Hayda, but in the back and forth, you give up 2 goals 4 minutes apart. Go back another game. Obviously, you lose to Orlando. You lose to Montreal, so you don't score, so there's nothing that happened there. In the comeback in the Turnpike Derby, you gave up 3 goals early. So that does not apply to this scientific experiment. 4th, 25th, and the 33rd, and then Orlando scored 4 to get that win. We're going to leave the Open Cup out of it. April 25th against DC, you would lose 3-2. You give up goals to Monteano in the 84th. Kai Rolls in the 90th. You would lose that one 3-2 on the road. Before that, you won against Charlotte back on the 22nd. Morrison Ajimong scored in the 33rd minute, so once again, it does not apply. So then before that, where's my list here? Hang on. So, no, I don't want May. I want April. So then you go from that match to losing to Orlando City. You lose that one 1-0. You beat Naples in Open Cup. Then you beat Columbus. So in the last 6 matches, you gave up 5 goals 75th minute or later. You gave up goals in one match 4 minutes apart. You gave up one match 6 minutes apart. Where was the 90+4 and the 90+8? Where was that one? I thought I saw that one too. So let's see. Orlando, Atlanta. So Philly, Montreal. Oh, that was a loss. That was where it was. So then, sorry, my numbers are off. So in the loss to Montreal, there's a reason that you lost. You gave up 2 goals, 90+4, 90+8. So I take it back. In the last 6 matches, you've given up 2, 4, 6, 7 goals, 75th minute or later. You've given up 5 goals, 80th minute or later. You've given up goals 4 minutes apart twice, 6 minutes apart once. So that is what Orlando has done late in matches in April and May. Atlanta reinforcing the theory. They just run out of time trying to chase after a game winner. So Orlando has proven time and time again under Martin Perelman that something happens in the last 15 minutes. Out of gas, trying to coast, trying to get to the finish line, whatever it is. Something ain't right with Orlando in the last 15 minutes. Teams are taking advantage, either to rescue points or to get wins. So heading into a third match in a week against Orlando City in an Open Cup competition, the evidence lends itself to Atlanta United, especially late. But as we know, you got to finish your chances. Atlanta United had chances, got the one late, had 21 total shots, 2 big chances, 1 goal. Maxime Crépeau, I swear, had more than 5 saves, which is what they are officially registering him to have in this match. 10 corners for Atlanta United. I think 8 of them were in the first half. 2 yellow cards compared to 1. In the attack, each team had 2 big chances missed. About even when it came to touches inside the opponent's 18. 3 times Atlanta United fouled in the final third. Orlando was dispossessed in duels 13 times in the 15 duels that had these opportunities for them. Atlanta United had the advantage 33-28 in duels, 12-8 in the air. Then defending, Atlanta had 23 total tackles compared to 8. More recoveries. Orlando had 22 clearances compared to 19. Passes in the final third, about a third more, 111 to 85. 21 long balls compared to 15. Final third entries, they had more. When you listen to the broadcast, Jason will get into passes per defensive action as a key statistic for Atlanta United in their success. Look at the number 15. Look at the number 13 for that one. Shots outside the 18, 15 for Atlanta United compared to 2, 6 inside the 18 compared to 5. They had 7 blocked shots. Shots on target 6-3, once again 21-7. So that was the full rundown of the stats. Now let's take a peek at the second half, where if you look at the flow chart, it was pretty much a field that was tilted to Atlanta United, where they had long stretches of possession, including basically monopolizing, according to SofaScore, the final 15 minutes. Like completely and totally, they had it for the final 15. Where you only had, Orlando had majority of the possession to start the second half. Then Atlanta United flips the script, and they pretty much had it for the entire second half. So second half numbers to lead to what we're discussing. 16 total shots in the second half for Atlanta United. 4 saves by Crepeau, 4 saves for the purple team, 1 save for Lucas Ojos. 16 tackles for Atlanta compared to 5. Shots on target 5-1. Shots off target 5-2. Blocked 6-1. Shots inside the 18 5-3. Shots outside the 18 11-1. Basically, if you've got a window, you got a green light, go. Big chances missed. Orlando actually had 1 more big chance missed, 2-1 in the second half. 21 duels, 1 compared to 13, 7 compared to 5 in the air. Long balls, 14-11. Crosses 2-1. Atlanta had 9 more final third entries in the second half. Defending, Atlanta to regain possession to continue their dominant play in the second 45. 18 tackles compared to 5, 16 tackles compared to 5 second half. 3 interceptions compared to 4. Had more recoveries, 22-16. Had less clearances, obviously, 13-8. And this is when SofaScore decides it's going to crap out on me. So that's basically, yes, that is a bunch of numbers. But it just reinforces what Atlanta United was doing in a dominant fashion in the second 45, specifically the final 15 minutes like we were talking about here. So key for me once again, tomorrow in Orlando will be that final 15 minutes, if not the final 20. Where once again, you had a team play Orlando, get a goal in the final 15 minutes to, in this case, register a point, rescue points from 0 to 1, where others have once again gone from either 1 to 3 or reverse. 6 goals in 7 goals the last 6 matches, 75th minute or later. 5 of them 80th minute or later. And you have in Orlando a team trying to figure itself out after the dismissal of Oscar Pereja, where Martin Perelman, because they were so porous defensively, he's basically dialed it back. And he wanted to go defense first. We'll figure out the defense. We'll settle things down back there, and then we'll build forward. Yes, Martin Ojeda is still incredibly dangerous. But when you look at this team, meaning Orlando in the last handful of matches, you're going to be seeing third match in 7 days for the purple team in Open Cup. Wednesday, Philly. Saturday, Atlanta. Tuesday, Atlanta. Atlanta will be fresher. Atlanta should have more folks available. Orlando looked gassed at the tail end of both halves and looked like they were just looking to be here and just try to get to the door. So I think that with what we're seeing, evidence lends itself to Atlanta once again taking advantage of Orlando, but evidence is one thing and obviously finishing chances is another. You've got to be clinical in your chances, finish those, and do it at a better rate than you did on Saturday if you're going to advance in the Open Cup into the Open Cup semifinals. But tomorrow we'll look at lineups and we'll see what, who played how many minutes. We'll get into that on both teams. We'll get into that and we'll break it all down for you, and we'll let you know where things would be leaning. But if it was me, and of course we all know that I get paid the big bucks to manage a professional soccer club. First thing I'm doing is I'm looking at the minutes that were played on the weekend, knowing that there is going to be some rotation. And I know that, Michael, you were not a fan of Jay and Alexi playing 90 minutes. Part of that was to get the result that you got. And then this, like I said, this is where the physios come into play. This is where they earn their bucks. How many minutes can you give me? What was rest like on Sunday? Is today basically just kind of, shaking the cobwebs out at wherever you're going to hold your practice? Just kind of get everything loose again. It's time in the whirlpool, time on the massage table, all those kinds of things. So the subs, once again, that came in, like I said, we don't have an update on Fafa Pico. We are set to hear from Atlanta United at noon. And so we'll find out what the conversations are, workouts, et cetera, down there in Central Florida. We'll find out early this afternoon if there is an update on Fafa Pico or if there is not. But Fafa Pico comes in for Will Riley. Riley gives you 60. And he is still coming back from an injury that was picked up in training. So Fafa comes in after Will gives you 60. And then in coming together with Griffin Dorsey and going into the net, he can only give you 19 before he was subbed out for Togashi. So keep an eye on Fafa Pico and his status. Togashi gave you 12. Stian gave you 20. Matt gave you 20. Latte Lot gave you 20. Togashi gives you 12. Once again, no Amador, no Ronald Hernandez, no Steven Elzate if you want to go into those directions, but they'll be fresh. And Jaden Hibbert has been your Open Cup keeper. Everybody else, 90 minutes. Elias Baez, 90 minutes. Galarza gave you 90. Playing in that more advanced position to start anyway before substitutions in the second half. Barakal gave you 90. Mihai gave you 68 before Stian came in. So then it might be Mihai and Stian tomorrow. Tomas Jacob gave you 70 before Matt Edwards came in. Tristan gave you 90. Tristan will give you 90 as many times as you want him to give you 90. Alexi gave you 90. And then Saba came in, gave you 70. Once again, Latte Lot came in for the final 20. So those are just your numbers for minutes, who played, how long, all of that. Just that is your FYI heading into Tuesday with what the lineup might look like. Martin Perelman had 2 changes going into his lineup on Saturday from the midweek against Philly. Robin Janssen gave you a half. Iago came in, so I would probably bank on Janssen starting. Marin gave you a full 90. Angulo a full 90. Atuesta was subbed out. Luis Otavio gave you 20. Atuesta gave you the other 70. Brian Ojeda was swapped out. He gave you 80. Cartagena came in to finish up. Griffin Dorsey went full 90. Pasalic got the start, gave you 60. Tyree Spicer came in for that. In the midweek last week, Justin Ellis started on the right-hand side with Pasalic in the starting lineup. He was moved to the left, at least until the whistle blew. And then Justin Ellis gave you 70. Duncan McGuire came in, and Duncan McGuire has always proven himself to be a certifiable pain in the butt. So maybe Duncan McGuire gets a start. Martino Hayda gave you 90. So both of these teams have had a lot of their studs give you full 90 minutes or give you a lot of minutes over the last X number of over the last 7 days, say. So keep an eye on both of these. I will be intrigued. Like I said, Tata Martino assembled media noon today. And we'll find out what's on Tata's mind going into tomorrow. But like I said, this is where the physios earn their money. This is where they definitely earn their money. Speaking of the Apex Predator, Matt Edwards, Jason is now catching up with him outside the team bus. And so Matt does well. Jason catches up with him outside the team bus. Not inside, not in front of a curtain, but next to the team bus. So that's the dieseling that you will hear as Jason caught up with Matt after the match, courtesy of 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app.
Becoming a recurring pattern on the road, an outside the bus interview with Matt Edwards. How you feeling about tonight?
That's okay. We got a point on the road. Just glad I could get out there and make an impact when I came on. And yeah, we go again Tuesday. Big game on Tuesday.
Talk about your dude Jay. Huge goal from him. You set it up. How'd it play out?
Well, me and Jay are 100 Kim, I'd say. So
Yeah.
I know where usually he's going to be. He likes to stay around top of the box. And I think my specialty at times is the cutback. And I just knew he'd be there, and obviously he did the rest. So we had a lot of reps like that in training, and he didn't score them. So no, I'm messing.
He said the same thing. He said the same thing.
I'm just glad that we could combine for goal and assist this game, and we can keep adding to that for Tuesday.
It feels like the momentum looking ahead to Tuesday is with you guys. You were the better team tonight, deserved more than the 1 point. Does it feel that way inside the locker room that you guys have some momentum right now?
Yeah, for sure. I think we could have won that game, especially at the end. We had a couple of chances to put them away. And yeah, we know where to hurt them, I think, for next game, and we just need to come out with the right mentality. And then we need to be all over them from the first whistle and keep it going to the 90th. I think we know where we can hurt them, so let's keep going.
Great comeback. Thanks, Matt.
Of course, thank you.
Matt Edwards and Jason, and yes, I think it's safe to say that Matt and Jay Fortune are at 100 Kim. It took me a couple of listens to figure out what he was saying, and I think if I'm listening correctly, it's this term, 100 Kim, meaning that their chemistry is at 100%. Like I said, this is me who's at 700 years old, trying to understand certain things, and I think I got it right. I think 100 Kim means that they are definitely in sync. Obviously, the Apex Predator and Jay Fortune, roommates, basically, as Jason said in the tail end of in the highlight, basically they're brothers, and you know where the other's going. So at 100 Kim, I think I've got that one right. It's the first time that I had heard that phrase. Of course, I am not really, how do you say this? I don't really spend a whole lot of time with those of a younger persuasion. So I'm kind of having to learn on the fly. I'll give you an example. When Alexi first hit town and he was dropping all kinds of knowledge on his favorite music, and he's telling me about a certain artist I'd never heard of. And so I was asking about this song, and he goes, no, that's the name of the artist. That's kind of where we are here. So I'm anticipating and I'm extrapolating that with where Matt Edwards says that he and Jay are at 100 Kim, I'm guessing that's what they're talking about. That they are completely and totally simpatico. They are in sync. They are of like mind. They are of Borg. So I'm guessing that's what Matt told Jason, that they are 100 Kim, that their chemistry is at 100%. After all the time they spent together, you would hope so. So 100 Kim, that was something new that I learned. Of course, doing post-game interviews, I learned a lot of things new. But 100 chem, I believe that is what that means. I'm extrapolating there, but I think that that's correct. Tata Martino also spoke after the match. Here is a part of that conversation once again, courtesy of Atlanta United, their own selves. You will hear Jason, because Jason was in Orlando. And here is part of the Q&A from the match in and of itself. And the third voice you will hear is that of Justin Veldhouse from Atlanta United Communications, as Jason and Tata are going back and forth in the Q&A section. Perhaps if, I don't know, if I hit the play button, that would probably work. It's a Monday. Here we go. Take two.
Creo yo que si bien el empate no le queda tan mal al partido porque ellos tuvieron 20 minutos muy buenos en el primer tiempo, creo que podíamos haber ganado.
Well, to be able to come back from a goal down, to turn the score around and get the goal that we did, it's not bad in the end, especially considering they had 20 very good minutes in the first half. But even so, I feel like, as you say, we finished really well and could have deserved more.
Jay was our man of the match on the radio broadcast. I thought not just the goal, but he created a number of chances. How important is he in the football that you want to build for this team?
¿Qué tan importante es Jay para lo que quieres del
Y es el que en este momento que Miguel no está, es el socio ideal para Alexei. Nosotros tenemos la posibilidad de sacarla bien con Tristán desde abajo. Tenemos una buena prolongación con Jay y después de esa manera lo podemos encontrar de una forma mejor a Alexei. Y no como un salvador, sino como que a través de asociaciones, de jugadas con sentido, encontramos al jugador que tiene que definir por dónde va la jugada.
During this stretch that Miguel's been out, I think we've seen that Jay has become the ideal partner for Alexi in the attack. We have a player like Tristan who's able to do it from a deeper position, to be able to combine. But what we've seen from Jay is he's able to combine well and play really thoughtful balls and meaningful passes and have a good connection with Alexi.
Last one for me. I feel like this gives the team a lot of momentum going into Tuesday, that they were the better team in Orlando, and now Orlando is probably a little tired. Did you get that sense from the team coming off the field that they feel like the momentum is theirs?
Dice, como Atlanta terminó bien el partido, igual Atlanta tiene el ritmo entrando al próximo partido y Orlando puede estar un poco cansado. ¿Estás de acuerdo y cómo ves esa situación?
Bueno, sí, creo que ellos tienen una acumulación de partido que hace que la fatiga empiece. Creo que indudablemente nosotros no son partidos, intentamos lo mismo hoy. Ninguno de los dos partidos eran uno y será el otro para jugar con un ritmo bajo de juego. Hay que jugar partidos con mucha intensidad, con mucho ritmo. De alguna manera provocar nosotros que aparezca a lo mejor el cansancio en el rival producto de todos los partidos que viene jugando.
They have played an accumulation of matches now, so it's normal that they might start to feel the fatigue a little bit more. But we wanted to play both of these games up to a high level, so we didn't want to lower the intensity or lower the standards for either of the two matches. And so, yeah, that's our mentality going into the next one, is we want to keep the intensity and the effort high.
And that will be the case in the Open Cup quarters tomorrow. Once again, 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app, hopping in at 6:30, if I remember Abe correctly. And so it's an opportunity once again in Orlando. Abe and Maddie up here, Mike and Jason in Central Florida. And it's an opportunity to get into the Open Cup semifinals. Once again, just to give you a reminder as to where things are. Atlanta United, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, they are fourth in the picking order when it came to home venue in this particular round, and then going into the semifinals. 7:30 tomorrow, Orlando City and Atlanta. Then the late game starting a half hour later, St. Louis City SC and Houston Dynamo. That one's at the Pink Park in St. Louis. That's at 8. Then on Wednesday night, 7:30, Crew and NYC, beautiful downtown Columbus, Ohio. Then the late game in Commerce City, Colorado. It is San Jose at Colorado, 10 o'clock Eastern time. Golazo Network has Orlando City and Atlanta United. It's also on Paramount Plus. CBS Sports Network has taken the 8 o'clock game at the Pink Park in St. Louis with City and Houston Dynamo. Golazo Network has the early game on Wednesday with Crew and NYC. Then it is Colorado and San Jose on CBS Sports Network, 10 o'clock. All of those are obviously available on Paramount Plus as we go. So that's the rundown of all of the Open Cupness that is heading into the weekend, coming out of the Atlanta United momentum that they have. Scoring late, once again dinging Orlando and reminding Orlando and everyone else about the last 15 minutes when you play Orlando City. So that's where we are with Atlanta United out of the weekend, and more stuff. Like I said, the availability for Tata Martino and the team is at noon. If anything comes out of that, we'll let you know, and we'll get you ready for it tomorrow, in addition to Open Cup and all the other things. Okay. Now, Bart joining us bottom of the hour. Got cards and calls, especially one from the last match day in the Scottish League, which raised a lot of rancor. One in the Nottingham Forest match that raised a lot of rancor. Then there was a red card in the NWSL, and that'll lead us into our NWSL coverage with Bart. Then we got Yanks abroad. We have 2 injuries to get into, and we'll let you know about everything else that's going on in our collective brains. Bart joining us bottom of the hour. We'll go through all the other news and notes, but we got to get into Atlanta United 2 before we get into the news and notes outside of the Atlanta United universe. For those of you that might have missed it, we can be in 2 places at once. We can't be in 3. So we were watching along with the rest of you as Atlanta United 2 had made their way up to Joe Davis, Wicks Family Field and Joe Davis Stadium in Huntsville City, while the first team was in Central Florida, taking on Orlando. And taking on Orlando City, it was Huntsville City hosting Atlanta United 2. Bit of a later start, and it was an 8 o'clock Eastern kick while we were watching it from the 92.9 The Game studios and keeping an eye on Atlanta United all at the same time. Here's what happened after Huntsville City Football Club got a 2-0 lead in MLS Next Pro on Saturday night. For those of you that might have missed it, this is the short version, courtesy of MLS Next Pro, their own selves, and One Football. Josh Toll on the call. It's 2-0 Huntsville City Football Club as we pick up what happened the rest of the way.
Hanger looping one in. Just down by Kovac. How about that? And Atlanta gets one back. Arif Kovac with his 3rd goal of the season. Dovalo plays in, back post ball, headed down, and in for the equalizer. Arif Kovac with a brace. Dunbar has numbers inside the box, whips it in. Kovac does it again. How about that? A hat trick for Arif Kovac. Slip ball, Kovac cuts it across, and this ball goes in, and this should do it for Atlanta United. Liam Butts, for the 2nd time this season, has scored against Huntsville City. This ball looped in. Koulibaly right there, sent it away. Shot from long range. How about that? Save the fall by Kovac, and he has 4. Atlanta goes on the road, takes advantage of Huntsville City being 2 men down as they punish the boys in blue.
And they certainly did that. What you heard was not a misprint or anything like that. Not a misprint. Because Arif Kovac for Atlanta United 2 did not score once or twice or 3 times or 4 times. Arif Kovac against Huntsville City Football Club scored 5 times. I'm not kidding. The highlights only went so far from our friends at MLS Next Pro and One Football. Huntsville City, with a goal by Luis Cristiano in the 18th, take a 1-0 lead. Then, on a horrible challenge in the 41st minute, Maximum Eck gave the fans maximum ick. Second yellow, 41st minute. So Huntsville City's playing with 10. And there have been times where we have said that when you go down to 10, sometimes you're playing a little freer than you would normally. Seemed like the case for Huntsville City because you end up with a goal at 45 plus 1 to make it 2-0. Literally, it was a Julian Gaines goal that made it 2-0 going to the break. Then Kovac scores in the 53rd, the 66th, and the 76th to go from 2-0 down to 3-2 up. And once again, another hard challenge by Veliz in the 80th. I think this Ilan Ettinger was having himself, he was target practice, man. Moises Veliz picked up a second yellow. The second yellow turning into a red was on a challenge with Ettinger. And then the Veliz second yellow turning into a red was a challenge on Ettinger. Sliding challenge, studs up, the whole schmear. Might have Bart look at this one too. So I think we might have just added another couple of plays for Bart to look at. So you end up with 11-9 in the 80th minute. Atlanta United up 3-2. They score 3 goals in 5 minutes. Liam Butts at 90 plus 3, Kovac at 90 plus 5, Kovac at the bitter end. Arif Kovac with 5 goals against Huntsville City Football Club. Obviously, Maddie and Jason are going to try and catch up with him this week up at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. I don't think he's probably, short of maybe when he was growing up and was playing pickup, he might have had a game like this. I don't think he's had a game like this. He obviously is now at the top of the tied for the top of the standings in MLS Next Pro with goals with 7. 5 in a game will do that for you. So Atlanta United goes on. The twos go on the road. Arif Kovac with 5 goals on the night. Get a big win against Huntsville City. Atlanta United has outscored Huntsville City, I think, 9-3 in their 2 matches this year. 10-3. And so for the twos, big win for them on the road. Crazy. And so now they are 4th in the Eastern Conference. They have 1 more win than Columbus Crew 2. That's your number 1 tiebreaker. So right now, 10 matches into the schedule, Atlanta United 2, if the season ended today, you want to go ahead and bust that phrase out. If the season ended today for Atlanta United 2, they would have a home game against Columbus Crew 2 in their opening round of the MLS Next Pro playoffs here in 2026. They're a point behind the Revs 2. They have 1 more win, meaning Atlanta United 2. They have 1 more win than the Revs. Played the same number of matches, but the Revs have results in the post-match shootout to break a tie situation. 4 points out of first. Same number of wins as Crown Legacy, who've struggled on the road after playing a lot of their matches at home to start their season. And Red Bulls 2, they have 7 wins in their first 10. So Atlanta United 2, 4 points out of basically second place. Since Red Bulls 2 have 7 wins, Atlanta United 2 would have 6. So Jose Silva doing really cool stuff right now with Atlanta United 2. And yes, we are going to be efforting Arif Kovac this week in some manner, way, shape, form, or fashion. So keep an eye out on Atlanta United 2 socials and all the channels and networks and so on when it comes to our coverage of Atlanta United 2. Next match for the twos, I believe, is against Philly this weekend. And I think it's an afternoon game. on in Chester. Yep, 3 o'clock, and it is next door. It is not inside the stadium that we're used to seeing. What they have done, and I don't know if you've seen recent matches with Philadelphia Union too. At that same property that they have Subaru Park, there are some side fields, and now they play at what is referred to as Kinetic Field at WSFS Bank Sportsplex Stadium. Basically, it's the side fields there at Subaru Park. So you can see from the place that they've been playing, you can see Subaru Park off in the distance about 200 yards downrange. So they've started converting fields and such, the open space into fields. And so it is now Kinetic Field at WSFS Bank Sportsplex Stadium. So 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. Philadelphia Union 2 hosting Atlanta United 2 there at Kinetic. And so it's another opportunity for Atlanta United 2 to climb the standings and do so in the Eastern Conference with Jose Silva. So big win for them. And then they get the following weekend off before they get MLS Next Pro does not stop during the World Cup break. So if you want folks to get reps, folks will get reps, and most of that action will be up at the Turner Soccer Complex in Athens. So full weekends in June, 6-13, the 6th, the 13th, they go to Columbus on the 21st, and then they come back to play Crown Legacy in Athens on June 27th in the midweek. Then they have July 4th and July 11th, and so on and so forth. So right now, still trying to figure out the post-World Cup home for Atlanta United 2, but their last match currently on the books is July the 11th at Turner Soccer Complex that we know. So go and visit the Twos if you got a chance. Like I said, they don't. The MLS Next Pro does not stop in the World Cup break. They take no World Cup break. They're still going. But big win for the Twos as they get ready for the matchup on Saturday afternoon in Philadelphia, off to the side at Subaru Park. So suburban Subaru Park, same property, 200 yards away. They're at Kinetic Field, and it's going to be on. We'll keep an eye on what's going on with them there. Saturday afternoon at 3, Philadelphia Union 2, and your 4th place in the Eastern Conference, Atlanta United 2. So that is your Twos update that is attached. Okay, other stuff. We mentioned coaches, and we got to get into coach stuff. The Crew have parted ways with head coach Henrik Rydström. That happened yesterday afternoon, and he lasted 134 days. Rydström was relieved of his head coaching duties. 9th full-time head coach announced on New Year's Eve. Led Malmo to the 2023 Allsvenskan Championship, basically Sweden's top flight. That's the Allsvenskan Championship in his first year. So, Crew at 3-7-4. And apparently, according to Adam King from WBNS TV in Columbus, Rydström made a comment following a recent loss. Maybe expectations should be lowered for the club this season. Issa Tall, in a release, saith, quote, "We unfortunately have not capitalized on opportunities or produced the results that our club and supporters deserve. We are confident that we have the talent on our roster to consistently compete for championships. Believe this change best positions us to accomplish that goal with the number of matches we have left in the season. 13th in the East, 3-7-4. Last season, they were 14-8-12. 1-1 draw, winless in 4 straight, winless in 7 straight. The Union with a record of 1-9-4. Theodor Olsson and analyst Makpake also were parted with. Laurent Courtois, who we know from his time in various systems, interim head coach for the remainder of the season. Courtois originally joined the Crew as their U17, returned as the first-team assistant back on January 13th. And so Laurent Courtois and the crazy that he brings with him is going to be the next matchup for Atlanta United as they go to Columbus this weekend. Last match before the World Cup break. Like I said, we'll effort our friend Chris Doran. I'm going to effort Chris to come in batting leadoff Thursday. So we'll see if we can catch up with Chris Doran on Thursday and find out what the week has been like by that point. And we'll find out what else is up involving the World in Columbus. So the World in Columbus is that way. Let me say hi to folks, and it's great to have everybody in here this morning. Morning, David. Morning, Michael. And morning, Alex. Morning, Lokeville. And so that's the rundown for those who are participating in the Twitch pitch. Remember, you can participate in any manner, way, shape, or form you wish. You can reach out to us on socials. You can just watch. You can hang out with us, have a multi-screen experience, or just if you have something to comment. And what I've always thought was cool was that the conversations that you all have back and forth when it comes to the Twitch pitch and the Discord when we're off air, all of those different things that you can do when it comes to being an interactive part of the experience here with us here on a Reaction Monday, #Reaction Monday. So other headlines, obviously, we got to, you get into what happened over the weekend, and Champions League the final will not be free to watch in the UK for the first time in the modern era. TNT Sports customers are TNT overseas, not TNT like here, but TNT overseas. It looks like that's going to be a paywall. So you've got a lot of wild stuff that we'll get into on SOT. I'll just give you the headlines. Earlier start tonight on SOT might be like 7:30. And I have picks of the week. And I don't know how many goals were scored in MLS this past week, but we will certainly find out together. And my guess is that I probably did not at all win any matches, which would not really surprise anybody. So Nashville and LAFC last night was the last match on the board. Nashville went on to win that one 3-2 after having a 2-0 lead. Hani Mukhtar with a hat trick. So, of course, I lost that one, and that did not work. So Nashville there. 3-2 win, and that one is a loss. So I finished the week with a loss. Probably started the week with a loss, too, and a bunch of places in between. So there you go. And like I said, this is headlines. We'll get into gossip room reading. You wonder what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it coming up in a sec. But you had Nice fans throwing just flares and running onto the field. Ineos's ownership that is there that began the season Champions League may end it in Ligue 2. So Nice's players and staff attacked by their own fans a few months ago. Then you had other matches where you had ultras throwing black smoke bombs in Ligue 1. Nantes, when they were going up against Toulouse, final day of the season, match was abandoned after 22 minutes. Club's owners did not attend due to safety fears. Ultras threw black flares and stormed the pitch. As players, officials, and staff, and this is from our friends at The Guardian, rushed toward the dressing rooms, Nantes manager Vahid Halilhadzic stood up to fans, a lot of them who wore balaclavas, pleaded before heading down the tunnel himself. Quote, in the 40 years of my career as a player than a manager, never experienced that. It will be deeply engraved in my memory. And the pictures are scary, frankly. Black flares, black smoke just engulfing the arena at Nantes for their matchup against Toulouse. And so PSG over Paris FC, and you end up with Metz, Nantes, and Nice, I believe, is the three teams that are going down to Ligue 2. So just wild stuff that was happening there. Then you had and we'll talk about this a little bit more in depth tonight. You had the Celtic and Hearts conclusion to the SPFL season, and it was the first time in 60-plus years Hearts had the opportunity to win the title. And as it turned out, they couldn't hold on to the lead. And it would end up as Celtic getting the win And like I said, when Bart comes in here in a bit, there's one play that we have to talk about because it was a key moment early in the match that a lot of folks are gravitating toward. But there is a way to look at it and understand how the laws of the game are administered. So we've got to show you that and discuss that and get into what happened. Then you end up with when Celtic wins at home against Hearts. You have the storming of the pitch, which is fairly normal. Martin O'Neill, and one of the other things that folks attached to Celtic have to remember is I enjoy the revisionist history that they've employed having to do with this season of how much strife they've had to go through. So Martin O'Neill, and I'll probably end up pulling this for tonight. Hearts suggested that the pitch invasion was an embarrassment to Scottish football. So O'Neill shows up on White and Jordan on TalkSport, and then he described Hearts' frustrations as nonsense. Callum Osmond scored the empty netter, make it 3-1. That was your final. So then they run out onto the pitch, and then they get into the faces of Hearts players once again chasing after that first crown since 1960. And they were looking for the strongest action possible to be taken because of this storming of the pitch. Martin O'Neill goes on with Jim White, and like I said, we'll probably play this tonight. Jim White goes, there's a suggestion that shows a lack of class. Martin O'Neill says, I don't know about the confrontations in terms of the Hearts players. There's a lot of hyperbole about that. Let's find out the real picture. So when Hearts players are being escorted off the pitch, one of them holding their ribs from apparent contact or just a collision, physical confrontation, whatever, with Celtic fans. Apparently that's hyperbole. Referee claimed he'd blown the final whistle at the end, and there's the obvious excitement. We have scored to win the league. And so Jim White's going back and forth. They shouldn't have come on the pitch, should they? Martin O'Neill, start telling that to every single football club. Then Jim White goes, it was an embarrassment. Martin O'Neill says, this they might do. Well, I don't believe that. I just don't believe it. I think it's nonsense. Home game and we just won the league. Fans have come onto the field, all right? So they should stay put then. Jim White says, have you spoken to Derek McInnes? No, we've shaken hands. I've given him praise, which he was deserved. And then Jim White referred to it as a free-for-all. Fancied going on the pitch, you could go on the pitch. Those who fancied going on went on. Was there not a scene at Ibrox? Martin O'Neill going back and forth. And then Martin O'Neill says, well, let me have a look at the picture. Let me have a look as if I'm the judge and jury of these particular things. Let me see the scenes at the end of the day, and I'll come back to you. And so now it's up to the Scottish Premiership and their front office to figure out, okay, is there going to be any kind of repercussion? They confirmed the match was indeed called to an end. And then they said, however, we condemn the scenes that were there. So we'll play that exchange tonight. And apparently the criticism is nonsense. It is nonsense, he says, Martin O'Neill. I would somewhat disagree with that assessment, but that's just me. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. We'll get into that here. Bart Keeler coming up when he gets out of his 10 o'clock meeting. Real Madrid is going to be bidding adios to Dani Carvajal after 13 years. Apparently, Fermin Lopez needs foot surgery, and the World Cup is in doubt for him. And Wayne Rooney might need surgery after saving a Jordan Pickford shot. Hansi Flick has agreed to a Barca contract extension until 2028. And police are vowing action if there was criminality in any kind of Celtic full-time scenes. So the gossip, rumor, and innuendo that is attached to everything here. Igor Thiago out of Brentford remains the leading target for Chelsea this summer following the appointment of Xabi Alonso as head coach, according to our friends at Team Talk. While the Real Madrid manager likely will have some sway over future transfer moves, Thiago remains a player of interest for the club heading into the transfer window, nominated for the Premier League Player of the Season after 22 goals this year. Chelsea could face competition for Morgan Rogers' signature, according to TalkSport. Arsenal, United, PSG. According to TalkSport, a fee of around £80 million could be enough to convince Villa to let go of Rogers. Still 5 years left on his deal. Four-letter paper, Brentford's they're the latest Premier League club to show interest in Cologne winger Said El Mallah. 19-year-old, been on the radar of both Chelsea and Brighton for some time. Latter heavily linked with a move back in January, failed to agree on a transfer fee with Cologne, who refused to lower El Malah's £43.6 million transfer valuation. Newcastle tracking Monaco midfielder Lamine Camara. According to Fabrizio Romano, talks have reportedly already taken place between player and club. Move to Tyneside, a distinct possibility. Magpies, one of several clubs keeping tabs on the 22-year-old who's already been capped 41 times by Senegal. Bayern Munich willing to let German international Alexander Nübel leave the club after the Stuttgart loan expires at the end of the year, according to Sky Germany. Goalkeepers enjoyed a strong campaign under Sebastian Hoeneß, helping guide the Bundesliga club to a top four. However, Manuel Neuer staying at Bayern until 27. They want to sanction Nübel's exit over the summer months, either in form of a loan or a permanent transfer. Brighton exploring a move for Hoffenheim winger Bazumana Toure, linked with Liverpool also. 20-year-old Ivorian international has a transfer valuation of around £34 million. That's from the four-letter paper. As we always say, take the information at your own peril. Leeds fully expect club captain Ethan Ampadu to sign a new contract with the club despite recent links elsewhere. Wales midfielder's contract has a little over a year left to run. That's from Football Insider. Fabrizio Romano, Michael Carrick signed a deal to become Manchester United's new permanent head coach as expected. Deal's going to run until 28, option to extend further by a year. Canadian international Nathan Saliba high on Freiburg's short list this summer. Several English and Italian clubs also tracking his development at Anderlecht. Sky Sports News, Napoli securing Champions League football. They've triggered the £38 million clause to sign Rasmus Højlund in a permanent this summer for Manchester United. Lech Poznan wish to renegotiate their purchase option for Celtic winger Luis Palma. The Polish outfitter hoping to lower the fee to around £2.6 million after Palma's impressive campaign. Santi Auna, Schalke and Alaves leading the race to sign Union Tuareg forward Taufik Bentayeb, who's expected to cost around €4 million. Nicola Shira, couple of notes. Roma midfielder Gianluca Mancini is going to ink a new deal with the club in coming days. Wrexham showing interest in Pisa fullback Idrissa Toure, who has fallen down the pecking order at the Serie A club. Ekrem Konur has Cologne midfielder Eric Martel set to leave the club this summer. Celtic and Freiburg among the suitors. And Antonio Conte has hinted he might leave the club at the end of the season, having secured Champions League qualification for the Serie A side. That's what to watch. That's your gossip, rumor, and innuendo. So what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, comes from our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. Helps you, helps us, and helps them. Adding more matches to everything you're already watching with Fanatis. You get BN, you get all the BNs. Home of AFCON, home of French League, Turkish League, and Polish League. Polish League coming down to an interesting caseload come the last match day. TASE matches from Argentina, more leagues from across South America. It is A and B divisions. You get CDO from Chile, TVV from Venezuela if you wish to add it. But as I always say, if you have the Hispanic package, the Spanish-speaking package on the cable system here in the Atlanta area, TVV is already on it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You also get Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru. You get ties to Tigo Sports. You get ties to Copa Argentina through TASE. You get Libertadores and Sudamericana through BN. It's all there for you at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here, one subscription, one home. Now, today, you start the makeup games. Polish League, 1 o'clock. Arco Gdynia and Niczezia. That's at 1 o'clock in the Polish League on BNB and Espanol. 3 o'clock, Arsenal and Burnley. This is their makeup game at the Emirates. Fox Deportes has the Honduran League at 10:15. Universo simulcasting Premier League. Fox ONE simulcasting the Honduran League. So it's a light night tonight, but it picks back up tomorrow. Libertadores, Sudamericana, Open Cup, Premier League makeup matches. There are 2, Chelsea and Spurs, and Bournemouth and Manchester City. Then you've got, once again, Open Cup, Serie B, playoffs, all those kinds of things. That's tomorrow. But today, fairly light. It is Polish League, Premier League, Honduran League. All in one place at fanati7tz.co/soccer down here. So that's the rundown of the morning as it all lays out. So how many people, I'm just asking, how many of you have unlimited talk and text on your cell phones? How many? Show of hands. Because this time of year, and I will remind folks to go ahead and do this tomorrow as well. Go vote, go vote, go vote. I don't care. I do not care. Morning, Ropes. I want you to exercise part of what makes this country the best political experiment ever on this or any other planet. Tomorrow, go vote. That's all I'm saying. But this time of year, literally, my phone's been blowing up because of what's happening tomorrow. And I did not know if you guys were the same as me and getting all of the messages, all the things, all the stuff in one place. I mean, it's like the fanatis of phones, but in a bad way. That you're getting all of these texts from all these different folks. Hey, can we borrow you for a sec? Can you answer a question for me? And I guess this might be more opening kickoff-y. But literally, can you know, we're going to send you a text. Hey, from no phone number that you don't know. Here's this from this candidate. Here's this from this polling group. Hey, can we ask you some questions? This is definitely more opening kickoff-y than it would be normally. Literally, I get, and I have over the last couple of weeks, more than normal. Over the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've been getting anywhere from 4 to 6 different texts a day having to do with candidates, surveys, all of those things that are attached to the upcoming elections. Because here in Georgia, I don't know how it is in other states. I know that in Louisiana, they've had primaries recently, and I'm sure that coming up on Tuesday, it's probably going to be the same in a bunch of other states in and around the Southeast. But I've been getting all these texts. Hey, did you know that there's going to be, elections on Tuesday? Well, yes, I did. I'm not texting them back this information. I'm just, relaying this as I'm sitting here looking at this text from a number I don't know. So I get this text from a number I don't know, and it's saying something that I have no interest in. And it seems like the more that I will tell it to stop, it'll text back stop to end. The more that you text stop, the more they ignore it, and they'll continue to send you the same kind of information. Which reminds me of another rant that I'm probably going to have to save for later. But yeah, I've been getting like a lot of texts from different people. Hey, can you answer these questions? Hey, I'm candidate, X. Don't forget to vote for me. Here's what I stand for. Thank God I've got unlimited talk and text. Because usually about one time, I'll wait till the end of the day, and I'll just sit there and I'll go ding, 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 and I'll blow out like 6 texts. Stop to end, when really it doesn't stop to end when it comes to these kinds of things. Morning, Ropes, by the way. So I'm going to ask Bart this question, because I kind of went on an opening kickoff-y rant here before Bart showed back up. Well, first and foremost, Bart, how was the meeting at 10 o'clock?
I'm glad to be here and talk about refereeing.
Mm-hmm. you got unlimited talk and text on your phone, right?
Yeah, and yes, the political candidates are trying it. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're testing the limits of unlimited.
They're on my last nerve. But
I got 2 phone calls this weekend from a candidate's office.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Like the whole, hey, reminder to go vote. And I'm like, I already voted. And not for your person.
Bam.
Yeah. Same one. Left a voicemail both times, and I'm just like, I already voted.
You're like, bruh. And yeah, so and the funny thing is that as a political science major, when I am asked, hey, you want to answer this survey, stop to end or whatever, you got a couple of minutes? I mean, of course, I just stare at it and go, no, you don't want me to answer.
I always answer the surveys because I'm with you, John. I'm like, oh, I got time for this.
Yeah, well, it's like, then that's the thing. It's like if I ever am pinned into a situation where I make the fatal error of saying hello, because that's the other thing I don't do, is that I have like spam monitoring on my phone and it'll tell me, probable spam or whatever. I will not pick up the phone. There's rare times where if I think somebody's calling and they don't, and it's not who it is, and I make the fatal error of saying hello, and then you get the voice on the other end saying, hey, I'm so-and-so from this, this particular, this particular firm. Can we ask you a couple of questions? If I'm in that kind of a mood, I will go to the absolute extreme answers each and every time. And they'll wonder whether or not I should be committed and be wearing a straitjacket by the end of their survey. So that's the direction I go. I go completely and totally off the rails, and this person is wondering what they got themselves into by actually asking these questions at the end of the line. I'm going to save my overnight delivery service rant for opening kickoff tomorrow, but opening kickoff may not be at opening kickoff because
okay.
But no, I have probably the overnight delivery service rant for the ages. And that is a tease, kids. So that's not going to be today because we got to talk stuff with Bart. But we're going to talk of overnight delivery services and how one of them is not doing what they can do for me. And we're going to get into their foibles and screw ups tomorrow. Okay. So do you want to? Yeah, it's that bad. So do you want to get in? Do you want to start with Yanks injuries abroad, or do you want to start with cards and calls, or how do you want to play this?
Let's start with injuries abroad because John, the angst and anxiety are now ramping up.
Yes. So there are two injuries involving two players. You have a twisted ankle, according to Oliver Glasner, in the 2-2 tie with Brentford. Chris Richards twisting an ankle, quote, I think he got Thiago landing on his ankle and then it twisted. It's quite swollen, so we have to assess it further. But hopefully he can return in the midweek next Sunday against Arsenal at home. And then Wednesday after that in the Conference League final against Rayo Vallecano at Red Bull Arena in Leipzig. That will force him to miss the beginning of World Cup training in Fayetteville down at the Arthur M. Blank U.S. Soccer National Training Center. So Chris Richards, a swollen ankle. That is not good.
No, and I'm sure Oliver Glasner will make his darndest to ensure that there is the fullest strength squad he possibly can field against Arsenal because that is a club that he hates more than any other club for some reason. But Chris was already, like you mentioned, was already going to be delayed coming to training because he's playing for a big-time trophy, or at least the club is. And hopefully he is not rushed back because, we don't want him playing a whole lot of soccer. It's not, a good thing to put a lot of extra minutes on these players' bodies. And, we just shouldn't be doing that for something as silly as a 10th place finish in the Premier League.
For Happy to Be Here FC, of course. You got to keep an eye on that one. And then Brendan Aronson suffered an apparent left knee injury in Leeds win over Brighton. Fell to the ground with 30 to go. Treatment after grabbing the knee. Walked off slowly on his own power. And so now Aronson and making the World Cup roster have thought bubbles in question.
Kind of waiting to see what that hopeful announcement is today from Leeds to kind of get a better understanding of what type of knee injury it was. Just because you walk off under your own power does not mean you're okay. See also Joseph Martinez.
Yes.
And, that is just scary because knees are very important to playing soccer, John. They're very important.
What?
And I do think he would have been a lock for a World Cup roster because I think he is like player 13, if you will. Okay. Maybe 15, but he is definitely a guy who, based on his Premier League form, based on his longevity with the team, would have been a valuable member of this World Cup squad because he does offer a lot of things on the field and in training. I don't know if he's, quite the vibes and experience that Christian Roldan offers, but, he does actually play soccer well, which to me means something. But it is now a question of where he'll be because he also offers depth at a couple of positions. Is he an attacking mid? Is he more of a not defensive, but like an 8? Is he a little bit more of a winger? He does offer cover at multiple positions, and his game is so based on his motor that if he's not able to run because of a knee, that's going to be not great news for him and possibly not good news for the U.S.
So then with these injuries, we know that Chris Richards was going to be late for camp anyway.
Yeah.
So with Chris Richards' absence in the party of the first part, what does that do just at the beginning of camp? I'm not saying that this is a catastrophic injury of catastrophic proportions and that the world is flat. What does this do where that back?
I think it opens up a spot for camp for a guy named Diego Luna. I don't know. I'm sure Jarrett Smith will hear his name mentioned a couple times during this segment, but there's a first opportunity for the Jarrett Smith bat signal. But I think that does open up an opportunity for Diego Luna because he does play a very similar position to Brendan Aronson, be it an attacking midfielder or kind of left winger, maybe even right winger, depending on how they want to be deployed. So that is, I guess, the silver lining for a lot of fans. I don't consider Diego Luna a lock for the World Cup roster, although he's had a very good MLS season. You just have to consider the depth of that particular position with a guy named Gio Reyna who's back to playing soccer, limitedly, but still playing soccer. Malik Tillman obviously playing and doing okay in the Bundesliga. I think Brendan Aronson is the third guy at that particular position, and again, all of those three can play kind of the half space right or left side. So I do think that opens up something for Diego Luna, which at least for camp would be fun. Yes.
So then, in the Chris Richards absence, what does that do at the back to juggle?
I don't know if it does anything, John. I do think that's the one where you could bring in another center back. Which one's healthy right now? I don't know, because there are a couple in MLS that were unhealthy, and one of those is also 47 years old or whatever he is now. That listen, I'm feeling rough. Yes, after refereeing 6 matches over the weekend, and I had a pickleball championship last night, John. So my knees this morning and my hips this morning are I don't know what they're doing now. I don't have all the cool training materials that Tim Ream does. I'm sure he's got some regenerative tools that make it a lot easier, but I don't know, John, because with Chris Richards is number one, and I think that's the other thing here is he is pin, Sharpie, whatever. He's on the team sheet, right? And you don't just replace that. If he's not able to play during these World Cup warm-up friendlies, which now who knows, because we knew he was at least going to miss the first one up in that place where they cheat all the time. Or I don't know if that means he'll play in Chicago. So that's the question. I don't have an answer of who fills in because I don't know who's available. I don't know. I forgot if Miles played this weekend or not. I don't remember him playing.
See what happens when you go to Cincinnati.
Tim's hurt. Mark McKenzie is there. Austin Trusty just somehow got gifted another Scottish Premier League championship. Congratulations. See also Cameron Carter-Vickers, who is a person who exists. Is he a real person? We haven't seen him in a while.
In name only, yeah.
Yeah, and after that, again, the call might have to go over to Germany to a certain 19-year-old who may or may not answer the FaceTime call, because we are at that point. If you don't have Chris Richards, again, I don't think there's any worry of it, but you're allowed to be a little worried, John. I mean, yeah. I think anytime your starting center back has some sort of an injury, you're allowed to go, I don't like that.
Especially
unless you're Atlanta United, in which case it's probably a blessing in disguise. But with Chris Richards, again, he's number one, and everyone else is fighting for like spot 3. Like he's number 1 and 2. That's just the reality of this position. I don't know. Do you call Noki Banks? Maybe you have to. Maybe that's the little like silver lining again to this, right? Is okay. Chris can't come in to start. Noki Banks, hey, we know you're not willing to commit, but do you want to play some friendlies before the World Cup and just at least like see what's up?
What's up?
Maybe.
Yeah. Chris Richards A, Chris Richards B. Those are your center back. That's your center back pairing.
Yeah.
And Chris Richards clone. Tim
we
Weah.
Wish we could.
Yeah. Tim Weah did start in Marseille's 3-win over Rennes. Christian Pulisic came in, got a cup of coffee in Milan's win at Genoa. So they are now.
Oh, they did what, John?
They won at Genoa.
They know how to do that?
Apparently so.
Oh.
Maybe because it was at Genoa and Genoa was distracted. I don't know. So both teams have wins there that helps out in the European theater. Then assist on the Athakame goal, only his second goal contribution of 2026. And then a shot that was saved by Justin Bilo. So way back playing, Pulisic comes in off the bench, and so you have that on the good side of things. Jedi Robinson plays a full 90, gets a goal. Chris Richards, we talked about that. Tyler Adams today against Manchester City. Keep an eye on that. Then Tanner Tessman. You get Lyon finishing 4th, Marseille in 5th, Monaco in 7th with Fuller and Balogun. Toulouse and Mark McKenzie finishing 10th. Balogun did not score in the 9-goal thriller to Strasbourg. They led 4-1 at the hour mark and finished 4th in Liga, scoring at 13 goals. Monaco ends up losing to Strasbourg 5-4. So, yeah, so you had that one for you. That was nothing like that one. Then let's see. Mönchengladbach went over Hoffenheim. Joe Scally got his 32nd appearance and 29th start. 130 starts, 157 appearances in 5 seasons at Gladbach. Contract expires at the end of next year. So he's got some things to think about. Gio Reyna, 5th straight appearance as a second-half sub. 19 appearances, 4 starts, 1 goal, 1 assist. Just under 500 minutes played. Still more than average over his last 4 seasons at Dortmund. Did not start since December. Still in the running to make a World Cup squad. And then you mentioned Banks with those numbers. Then you got Pulisic. We mentioned that. Yunus Musa had a cup of coffee in the loss to Bologna. And this was interesting. In the Netherlands, Serginho Dest, Ricardo Pepi. Pepi gets a late PK. PSV finishes a 3rd straight championship 5-1 win over FC Twente. Only a goal called offsides. PSV's top scorer, 16 goals, playing only over 1,400 minutes. In terms of goals per 90, 1.09. So Ricardo Pepi and the Netherlands, they like each other. At least Ricardo Pepi likes playing in the Netherlands.
Important to note that as a penalty kick goal, and only really important to note because we're going into a tournament setting, John, and if hopefully things go to plan, we might be in a potential penalty kick shootout, maybe possible situation. So knowing that there's a guy who can score a penalty kick outside of Christian Pulisic is nice. But look, I think Pepi both of those guys, Pepe and Dest at PSV, who were injured a lot of the season, right? Pepe with kind of like 2 bouts of injury of some sort because he somehow broke his arm scoring a goal, which takes talent that I wish I had. I think the fact that they are still, like, immediately they get back to health and they're in at least the lineup, if not starting 11, right? To me signifies how important they are to the club. My hot take about this, John, since that's what I'm here to do. I don't think Pepe needs to move this summer. I truly believe he needs to have another year at PSV because he needs to be healthy for the full year. And I think, weirdly enough, he's at a level that he's really good at. PSV is going to play in the Champions League. I don't know where he would move that would guarantee him Champions League or equivalent, right? Not even Conference League or Europa League. I know the Fulham move is, who knows where it is now. I don't know if that's a great move for him either, just to be frank. But I think him playing in a second tier of the top leagues, I should say, tier league, right? Great almost direct access to Champions League every year. I think that's a good spot for now. Okay. Because I am worried what happens if you go to the Premier League and, doesn't quite work out or something like that. Now, you could also just say, I want to go because I want to and I want the money and I think I can do it. It doesn't really affect the USMNT after the World Cup. So, if he goes there and flames out after a year or two, doesn't really hurt us. If he goes there and is pretty good for a couple of years, that probably makes us better. But I just think he should stick another year at PSV to be healthy for a full year there as the starting striker, because that was supposed to be this year, and it didn't happen. That's just what I would want from Pepe. Just stay at PSV for another season.
Johnny, obviously injured and out at ATLUTD. How does that impact things with his spot with the MNT?
Well, it means that Christian Roldan is for sure going to be making the World Cup roster, which hurts my heart a little bit. Sorry, I'm just gonna keep harping on that. I'm allowed to. I do think it opens up an opportunity for a guy like Sebastian Berhalter as well, because not quite the same position by any stretch, but similar. But really, I think the guy that it should open the door for, the person who is the most like Johnny, and then therefore most like Tyler Adams, is Aidan Morris. Because problem, John, as we have discussed multiple times on this segment, Tyler Adams may get hurt today before his game because the wind blows too hard.
Wow.
And it just happens with him, right? Like, he stretches a little too far and all of a sudden he's got a slightly strained hamstring. We got to have someone who can play that position. Now, do I think that Morris is necessarily the best replacement? No. But, who is?
Yeah.
Because Morris is the most like Tyler Adams, but, that's like saying that, I don't know, that's like saying that, Dr. Cola is an appropriate substitute for Dr. Pepper.
I was going to say that Mountain Lightning works for me here.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't get the job done, sure, but is that what you want to taste? No.
It's a headache.
And therefore you're looking at, okay, well, who actually plays that position? And gives us the best chance to win. Because again, it's not always plug and play. It's about trying to get your best 11 on the field. So it does for me cause some concern, because I do think Johnny, again, is the most actual replacement for Tyler Adams. And when you look at the group that we're going into, I think it's fair to say, John, that we would be in a position of probably leading some matches. I think we're favorites in all but maybe one of the matches we're going to play, and even that, I like our chances in against Turkey on the final match day. Having a guy like Johnny to come in and help close up shop and maybe give Tyler Adams a break, or give Tyler Adams a partner to can also help run around and win balls back, would have been helpful. And I just think that's the problem here, is we don't really have a guy like that in the pool at the same level. Again, I think Aidan Morris is the most likely guy, a like guy, I should say. Yeah. That doesn't give me the most confidence, though. And so Johnny's injury does affect the USMNT. I truly think it affects us more than a lot of people want to say.
Okay, that's why I wanted to bring it up, because we haven't had the chance to talk about it. Cards and calls, we'd mentioned Austin Trusty and Yanks Abroad, so I'll go ahead and go straight to Celtic and Hearts. And the offside call on, I believe it was Daisy and how everybody was drawing the line in the wrong place and folks were offside or onside.
I do want to. Okay, I just want to say I don't think the line was drawn in the wrong place. At least what I saw on TV when I finally was able to access this game, John. Because I don't know if you saw that drama of Paramount Plus saying we got it, and then they don't got it.
Well,
and
Paramount Plus said in error that it was going to be someplace, and then it wasn't.
Yeah.
So,
and then I had to go find it on CBS Sports Network, which is only on YouTube TV, not on my DirecTV. So I had to go into YouTube TV. That wasn't working on my big TV, so then I had to go watch it on my little TV. Wow. It was a mess. Anyway, I do think the line they drew on the broadcast, anyway, was just pointing out where the final defender was.
Yeah.
The second to last defender.
Yeah.
I don't think Maeda was part of the line drawing, but I also was watching on a much smaller TV from farther away. So for me, that particular offside incident was not. Look, of all the gifts Celtic has been given this season to help them win a bajillionth Premiership title in a row, that was not one of them. But do we want to go back to the week before? They've had 2 penalty kicks in 2 weeks because of a handball that may or may not have been impactful to the play.
Oh boy, that one the week before. Yeah, there was that one. There's that one. So then we go to Manchester United, Nottingham Forest, and it was a Michael Salisbury decision who allows the Mateus Cunha goal to stand despite VAR advising him it was a handball. So you had that moment. Obviously, Vitor Pereira said, had every right to be angry about this one. So you end up with a handball. Dermot Gallagher sticks up for referees on Sky, apparently believes that Salisbury's wrong to stick with his original decision, believes Matthew Donahue on VAR helped him out. But was this, in your mind, in the context of the moment, for the Cunha goal, was that a handball?
So I just want people to, there is a lot of, anytime this happens, there's a lot of words that are thrown around that are not in the laws of the game.
Right.
So people were talking about, oh, he controls it, or he gains an advantage, or any of those aren't part of what we consider the laws of the game, right? Those words aren't in there. We're looking for deliberately touching, which usually means moving the arm towards the ball. Again, we can't say intentional. I don't know if he intended to move his arm toward the ball, but moving the arm toward the ball indicates a deliberate handball. And then we're also looking for the unnaturally bigger. Now, in Mbumo's kind of defense here, I don't necessarily think he made his body like unnaturally bigger. I think it was a fairly okay silhouette. Now, where he does kind of have a strike, in my opinion, is he does move the hand, the arm, toward the ball.
Yeah.
But it was going in. And to me, that was kind of the saving grace here too, is he went from slightly bigger to narrower, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he went from arms kind of being outstretched to trying to move them in.
Yeah.
The ball just happened to go in between his arms because there was a slight deflection. It looked like anyway.
Yes.
Now, what goes against him again though is the ball definitely hits and has prolonged contact with the non-playable part of the body, right? I think that's fair to say. It hits like right above his elbow, maybe at his elbow.
Yeah.
Probably, right above his elbow.
Yeah.
Which is beyond that boundary of what we say, you can use this to control the ball. And again, it does kind of look like he maybe moves his arm toward it, but again, I think that's going from out to in and not, for me, not something that says, oh, he's deliberately like moving the hand toward the ball. What I do also want to again reiterate.
Yes.
The fact that a goal was scored in and around a handball offense by an attacking player in the box does not matter here. This was not a directly scored goal from a handling offense, or the player who committed the handling offense scored directly after it. Now, had Mbumo done this and his shot not been blocked, I think maybe we would have seen this called back, because there is a little bit higher standard of, okay, well, was that a handball, right? But in this case, it didn't have any actual effect on the goal, despite what people want to say. So therefore, we're just looking at it like as a normal handball. So again, when it comes to scoring a goal, we are a little stricter on did it come off your hand, because you're not supposed to be able to use that to score a goal, despite what Diego
unless
Maradona
you're
believes.
yeah, you see right there with you. I was going there.
But like, we all agree that, like, hey, if it hits your, even if you're not intentionally doing it, if it hits your forearm, right, and it goes down and you kick it in, okay, we can't have that. Or if it comes off your, even if you had it and it comes off of your like elbow, right, and it goes in the goal, can't have that.
Yeah.
We all kind of agree that there's a slightly stricter lens at that. But for this, because he doesn't score, which he's very good at not scoring inside the penalty area, it doesn't really have any effect on this decision. I'll summarize it with this.
Yeah.
If this were called a handball on the field, I don't know if VAR would have overturned it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Clear and obvious error. Yeah. So
right.
VAR felt Mbumo controlling the ball between arm and body before his shot was blocked, and felt Acuna was enough to see the goal was chalked off for a handball. Salisbury deemed the handball to be accidental and goes against the opinion of Stockley Park. And so that was where that was the.
And I don't know how you say there's something different. Like I don't know if it's a continuum, John. I don't think it is, but it's not to me accidental, but it's certainly to me not deliberate.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So in 2021, there was a rule change to the handball law, which determined any accidental handball that leads to a teammate scoring or having a goal-scoring opportunity will no longer be considered an offense. Correct. This explains Salisbury's decision to override the colleagues on VAR. And after asked what the referee told him, Vitor Pereira said he thinks the control with the hand was after a touch on the body. I must accept it, but that's not my opinion. In my opinion, he controlled the ball with his hand. I'd like to know how, if it was higher.
Again, we don't, control is not in the laws of the game, and therefore not relevant, unfortunately, to his point.
Yeah. So Vitor Pereira,
that word is inadmissible in court.
Yes. Counselor, if that is an inadmissible argument.
Yeah.
Goal comes from the control. If not, then they would have not had the chance to shoot and score. Pereira also wants more clarity on the rules around grappling in the box. Well, that's all, that's hand fighting, and that's going to be what it is, and it's going to be up to the officials in that particular moment. But it's centered around the 2021 rule change, where the handball law was changed, and so we got into that.
Yep.
Now, one more call that I wanted to kind of get into, and it was kind of a slam dunk, but it gives me a transition opportunity. The red card in the Boston match in the NWSL, where it was pretty much studs up. I mean, it was
Well, this match had a red card and a penalty kick, both which kind of impacted the outcome of the game. So this red card, a foul by Bianca St. George, who got her second red card of the year. We are not even through May, and she's already 2 red cards in.
Wow.
Is a great example of a foul with excessive force, because she slides in and her studs go basically into the knee. Like, they go up and probably into the knee, definitely high up on the leg.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Credit to the referee for seeing it immediately and going, that's a red card. This was not a VAR intervention. This was the referee seeing it and going, yeah, it's a red card, because your studs can't go that high into the knee of an opponent, especially when you're supposed to be slide tackling, which means your leg should be close to the ground, not 2.5, a foot and a half off of it.
Yes.
Was there a shout for maybe, oh, well, it hit the ball and it goes up? That doesn't really matter, because you have to be in control of yourself when you're making these types of slide tackles. And she wasn't, and she gets a red card for it.
And so in a weekend where you had an ish ton of goals, and that is the official, by the way, Kansas City wins at home 3-0 on Houston. San Diego at the Murph Dragon won against Washington 2-1. Gotham shuts out Seattle out west. Then we had Bay and Boston 1-1 draw. Courage put up 4 on Chicago at Wakeman. Denver put 3 on Orlando in Denver. Then you had goalless draw Portland Angel City. Jarrett was at the Riot for Utah's win over Racing Louisville, and that sets up everything for the midweek. And so right now, things are kind of getting back to where you'd anticipated, but Utah is in second place right now.
Yeah,
in the league, above a lot of folks. San Diego right now, and you're traditionally tight. I mean, it's San Diego, Utah right there at number 2. That's the one that you sit there and you go, whoa. Portland at 20 points, Spirit and Gotham at 18. That you kind of anticipate, and Kansas City seems to have stopped hitting the snooze button, and they've kind of turned things around. But Denver, I mean, it's even Steven at 3-3-3.
Yeah. Hey, look, the Mountains are doing something right with soccer, but Utah now in second is pretty impressive for the sheer fact that last year they were 12th and really only finished above a horrific Chicago Red Stars team, and then expansion Bay. So, like, they did not have a good season last year. This year now, they're, I think, basically almost, let me do my math real quick. Yeah, they're 5 points off of their point total from last year.
Wow.
And we've played 10 matches.
Wow.
So I can't tell you what's clicking other than there were a lot of kind of player transfers that allowed them a little bit more. I think they were able to sign more good players instead of having a few really good players, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Atlanta United should try that.
There's more balance in their roster distribution, I think.
Correct.
They've only given 7 goals this season.
And that was what I was getting to, is that allowed them to have some actual defending might, if you will. Manny McGlynn's having a pretty good season. That's been helpful, but overall they've just been a little bit more solid defensively. And I think that when you just look at it, that has been, for me, the one that's been the biggest upgrade. And some of that comes down to good midfield play as well, I will say. They've had some more control in the midfield, which is something they did not have last year. They were not a team that, for me, had a real good understanding of how to control the ball and play as a team from back to front. Now they are, which, as we know, that takes pressure off your defense. But it's been just an all-around upgrade for Utah. And when you look at the table right now, San Diego on top is somewhat of a surprise. I think they're going to only get better when Katamari Macario comes back. Utah in second, I think a big surprise. And then you get to I think the teams we thought were going to be good, right? Portland, Washington, Gotham, and then even Kansas City, who has finally learned how to play soccer again after Chris Armas, I don't know what he was doing. They just got, I think, their second win in a row, and they're unbeaten in 3. I have to look at this again. But they've started actually playing good soccer again. Timo Shawinga, which I did not realize this, is second. It's a weird stat, so just go with me on it.
Okay.
But has the record for the third most goals in a single venue in league history.
Okay.
The others were like Sam Kerr and Christine Sinclair. Now, if you remember, Christine Sinclair has scored a ton of goals in Portland and was there for a very long time.
Yes.
Look, Kansas City's stadium, and I don't mean like for our team, I mean in a stadium.
Yeah.
2 years old, 3 years old now. This is, I think, the third season of it.
Yeah.
And she's already at like 20-some goals in that stadium. She had 2 on that Friday night. That seems good. So Kansas City is finally realizing that they have one of the best attackers in league history, and they should give her the ball more.
Feed the beast. What's going on with SoccerForUSPod?
We're going to be recording this week. Looking forward to that roster drop. What is next weekend? Right, next weekend. What's today? On Monday, Memorial Day, because why would they not let us just enjoy our time off? So we'll be looking forward to that.
We're working. I mean,
yeah, I know. We've given our predictions of who are locks and who are the bubble players who are going to go in. So now we're just going to kind of put together our full roster. That preliminary roster has already been submitted. Some associations, some federations have already released it.
Yep.
U.S. Soccer decided not to because it's got to be a secret. Because our best 45 players are apparently somehow secretive. I don't understand that, John. But if we have to release it for CONCACAF, what do I know?
It's
anyway.
It's a made for TV event. The mini-series.
You're right, John. I'm so sorry. How dare I not think of the ratings? I'm so sorry, Fox Soccer.
Oh my goodness. Like I said, I'm glad that you survived your meeting, and welcome to Monday. So obviously, as we continue to progress, keep an ear out for the Soccer for USPOD. Since I'm mirrored here, I always have to forget that it's the other way. Yeah. So Soccer for USPOD. Bart and the Band of Renowned. That's going to be coming out later this week when they look at rosters and try and figure out who the 45 are or the 55 when it might be common.
No, we're going to do 26 because that's what comes out on Monday. That's what we're trying to predict.
Okay. So
that's a lot. Although, shout out to Thomas. Yeah. Shout out to Thomas. He's given his 45, I think, but we're only going to be looking at the 26. Maybe we'll push it to 30 to give ourselves some cover, but we're going to be looking at who's making the World Cup roster. So, yeah.
There you go. All right. So, as always, my friend, great to see you on Mondays. We will be catching up with you very soon. He's got his coffee.
All right, y'all.
He's ready to go.
Have a good one.
There he goes. There's Bart. And so that's Bart Keeler from the Soccer for USPOD. And that will do it for us, I believe. That is it for this day. And what we will do is obviously keep an eye on things. Like I said, I think SOT tonight's going to be an early start. Earlier than 8 o'clock, might be 7:30, might be 7. And we'll go over all the craziness that happened overseas and all around the planet, like in the Moldovan League, where a player who was down injured ended up deflecting a ball into his own net for an OG in open competition, those kinds of things. And we also have picks of the week where I know that I've lost one, and we got to look at the other 7. I might be closer in the tiebreaker, but that doesn't help me because I'm at the bottom anyway. And for those that might have not heard, I'm calling segment 1 leading into the World Cup. So leading into those first matches on June 11, week before, that first week of June, that's going to be the last week of segment 1. Then segment 2 kicks in with the World Cup, and we'll do that until some point in December. We'll come up with an ending point there, probably MLS Cup, and then figure out a campeón de campeones and figure out orders and matchups and things like that in the Discord for 2026. So that's the rundown for the rest of the day. Tomorrow, like I said, we're going to be drifting in and out this week of high school championship coaches and our regulars with MLS and all the other news that's going on. Fabrizio Romano has officially posted a Here We Go. And it has to do with our friend Jose Mourinho. And it also has to go with, according to Fabrizio Romano, all terms verbally agreed between Mourinho and Real Madrid, waiting to sign all documents. Initial 2-year deal. Mourinho to travel to Madrid after the Real Bilbao match. And so that is the latest there. And we do have... before we get out of here, we actually waited long enough to have something happen before we go off the air, and it is this. News out of Austin. The Verde have parted ways with sporting director Rodolfo Borrell and head coach Nico Estevez. That is official. That has happened as of, let's see, when did I get my notice here? Did it happen? When has it happened? I got to check my right emails, and we'll see if the official release is out. Yes, it is out as of a minute ago. Wow, so we actually got here in good time. All right. Davey Arnaud has been appointed interim head coach ahead of the club's final match before the World Cup break. Austin retains Excel Sports Management to lead the search for the next sporting director. They have parted ways effective immediately. Club begins searches for next sporting director and head coach, implementing an interim leadership structure for soccer operations. Davey Arnaud, interim head coach ahead of the match with St. Louis City on the 23rd. CEO, majority owner Anthony Precourt quotes, search for the club's next head coach already underway. They've retained Excel, the executive search division, Excel Search and Advisory to lead the global search for the club's next sporting director with the goal of identifying a sporting leader who aligns with Austin FC's long-term vision and competitive objectives across all levels of the organization, including first team, second team, and academy. Arnaud previously served as an interim manager in 24, had a 3-2 win over Colorado final day of the season. Interim coaching experience, 9-match stretch with Houston in 2019, 4-5-1 as an interim. But both Nico Estevez and Rodolfo Borrell, the sporting director, are out in Austin as of technically 3 minutes ago. So we got to keep an eye out on that. Oh, SEO 2012, you're going to get bounced. AI viewers. Why would I want AI viewers? I want real viewers. So we're going to block SAIOT 2012, and we're going to report them as well as a bot. But we wrap up this morning with Nico Estevez and Rodolfo Borrell out in Austin at Austin FC. Austin FC has hit just a wall when it comes to their results as of late. We'll recap those. And when you look at the last handful of matches for Austin FC, it has not been good. When you give up 5 in a shocker, and then you lose to Sporting Kansas City 2-1. Recent run of results for Nico Estevez. Losing to Kansas City at home 2-1. Losing on the road to Austin at San Diego at the Murph Dragon 5-0. Drawing Minnesota United 2-2. Then you beat St. Louis City 2-0. Then you beat Houston 2-0. You lose to San Jose 5-1. This is going backward. Drawing Toronto. Losing to Lou City in the Open Cup, losing to LAG at home, then drawing Messi and Friends at New Stadium in April. So all competitions, starting with New Stadium, if we take it all comps, April and May to this point, so the last 6 weeks, draw, actually, so win, lose, draw. So we go win, lose, draw. So, draw to Messi and Friends, losing to LAG, losing to Lou City in the Open Cup, drawing in a 6-goal thriller in Toronto, losing big in San Jose, 2 wins against Houston and St. Louis at the end of April, the beginning of May, draw against Minnesota, big loss to San Diego, big loss to Kansas City. 2, 5, and 3 in your last 10 matches, all comps. But you have given up in those losses. How many goals? In those losses, you have given up 2, 4, 9, 14, 16 goals in those 5 losses. 10 of them, well, 5 of them coming to San Diego, 5 of them coming to San Jose. So it appears that Anthony Precourt had just pretty much had enough. 2 wins, and then you have a draw, a big loss, and 2 big losses after the 2 wins at home against Houston in all caps. So you look at where things are in the standings in the Western Conference. Let's just take a peek at the Western Conference. Once again, 2, 5, and 3, all comps last 10. And Austin is right now 14 points, 14 matches. 5 points out of the 8-9. 3-6-5. They've given up 28 goals this season. That is next to last in the Western Conference. And that is Orlando's given up 38. Cincinnati's given up 35. New York Red Bulls have given up 31. So it's those three. Kansas City, 34. Austin at 28. So you're fifth worst in goals allowed. You haven't won on the road this year. The Western Conference, that's, not really saying something that is an odd duck statistically, but you're 3-6-5 and you lose at home to Sporting, which obviously does not sit well. And then you lose big on the road to San Diego. So Anthony Precourt wants to stop this now. Nico Estevez, Rodolfo Borrell out in Austin as the head coach and sporting director of Austin FC. They've hired or retained Excel to start with their search. Sporting director comes in. Sporting director hires head coach. So that's where we are. So that's the homework that Anthony Precourt and Austin FC are going to be doing over the World Cup break, is finding out who their new sporting director is going to be and who their new head coach is going to be. So interesting times in Austin. So we'll be watching the news in Austin, and we'll be finding out what the latest is there. So once again, remember, it is going to be tomorrow where we've got Open Cup. Tata Martino is going to have his opportunity coming up in a bit. We're going to keep an eye on that for you, and we'll have that for you tomorrow and break everything down there. Tomorrow, it's going to be your blend of high school and MLS, and we'll break all of that down for you. Like I said, we're going to be drifting in and out of high school and Major League Soccer and Open Cup and everything all week. Friday is going to be a day of chaos, apparently, according to our friends at MLS Soccer. So all of our voices from Apple TV are going to be joining us, and we'll see what it looks like. So that is the rundown today. So we end with 2 dismissals and breaking news before we get out of here. SOT tonight, keep your bat signal ready. I think it's going to be like at 7:30, might be a 7. And we'll go from there. But we'll talk about all the wild stuff that happened this past weekend and get you set up for everything that happens today and this weekend as you head toward the last match day in the Premier League for the year, figuring out what big club is going to go down. West Ham or Spurs. We'll find out on the last match day, and we'll find out how catastrophic it's going to be for the club that goes down, and go over all the other things that happen in the biz. Thanks to all of you guys in the Twitch pitch for being a part. Thanks to Bart. Thanks to Abe. Thanks to 92.9. Thanks to MLS Next Pro. Big win for the Twos. Arif Kovac better get Player of the Week. Might get Player of the Month. Just go ahead and do it now. Just go ahead and send in the award now and mail it. And like I said, Maddie and Jason are going to try and catch up with Arif Kovac this week and find out after the massive effort that they put up against Hunt City as they get ready for Philadelphia on Saturday afternoon. So we'll have that for you there as well. So for everybody here at SDH AM, back again tonight for a new round of SOT, soccer over there. Since it is the end of the show, that means one thing. Mucho Plati, I'll play it safe. We'll catch up with you again early tonight for the new round of soccer over there. Play it safe, everybody. Mucho Plati, we will see you in a bit.